Welcome to Season 2 of the Erotic Realm podcast, where we explore the world of eroticism, one erotic realm at a time. I'm Em, a sexologist and kinkster. The mission of the Erotic Realm is to humanize desire in all of its forms, including darker desires. Each episode, we dive deep into the psychology of desire with a sexpert, everyday kinkster, or a kink expert. This is an independent podcast. To support it, please consider becoming a paid subscriber at psychologyofdesire.com, where you'll also find deep dives into desire and surveys that you can participate in. You can also sign up there to get the podcast delivered directly to your inbox when it's released. If you'd like to support the podcast, please consider checking out the brands that support the Erotic Realm. There's Firm Tech, whose tech ring offers fascinating insights into sexual health by tracking erection quality and nocturnal function. Splash Blanket, who create luxurious waterproof blankets designed for comfort, intimacy, and real-life messes. ProDX Health, who offer discreet, at-home STI testing. While Karoo and Lovents make premium pleasure technology, from couple toys to long-distance interactive devices. Then there's Lioness, who are doing something truly unique in sex tech, using biofeedback and orgasm data to help people better understand their arousal. I'm also partnering with Flow and Desire, science-backed libido support supplements designed to support sexual vitality and well-being. These are brands that I find genuinely interesting, science-backed, and I've used them myself, so they come with my recommendation. You can find the links to all of them in the episode description. If you try them, use the links below. It supports the show at no extra cost to you. And now, back to today's conversation. The following conversation explores one of the biggest misconceptions about male sexuality, that orgasm, ejaculation, and pleasure are all the same thing. In this episode, I'm joined by men's sexuality coach Jim Benson, who has spent more than 3 decades helping men overcome shame, performance anxiety, and disconnection to develop greater confidence, intimacy, and embodied pleasure. Together, we explore what it means to awaken what Jim calls the sexual animal within, why many men have become disconnected from their erotic instincts, and how learning to separate orgasm from ejaculation can fundamentally change the male sexual experience. Whether you're curious about male sexuality, interested in Tantra, or simply want to understand the psychology of masculine desire more deeply, this conversation is for you. Enjoy. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Erotic Realm. Today we're exploring the Erotic Realm with Jim Benson. Welcome, Jim.
Thanks, Em. Glad to be here.
Happy to have you. So to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your life looks like day to day?
Sure. I am a men's sex and relationship coach, and I'm also a Tantra teacher and in the Skydancing Tantra lineage. So say, for instance, most recently, I was in Bali with Margot Anand leading a teacher training there for 50 people, mostly Europeans, I guess, that showed up in Bali to learn from Margot and I. So that was kind of my start into the whole sexuality realm. And then Margot kind of pushed me out and said, you need to be teaching what you know to men. So I started programs for men, helping them become more orgasmic and experience more pleasure.
Okay. Did you say Skydancing Tantra lineage?
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that before. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Margot studied with Osho along with a number of other Western explorers, you could say, in the 70s. And so he came back at Osho's encouragement and put together what was called, I guess, the beginnings of Neo-Tantra or modern Tantra, you could say. And she opened up, I think, very quickly about 9 Skydancing institutes throughout Europe. and wrote The Art of Sexual Ecstasy. So
Mm.
that became a very big seller and made her quite popular. Um, and I took a teacher training with her many years ago, maybe 25 years ago. And soon after that, she and I started teaching together. So um,
Amazing.
yeah, it's one of the earliest forms of neo tantra that's out there.
Okay, cool. I'll have to look into it more. So, can you take us back to the beginning of your Tantra journey? It sounds like you've been exploring it for quite some time. How did you end up in this realm?
Well, I was I kind of got fired from the bedroom with
Oh,
by a fiance. I yeah, basically she said I wasn't bringing it in the bedroom. This is in my late 20s
oh
and
no.
left me. And so I decided I wanted to figure out this sex stuff because I wasn't very good at it. So I
Right.
started doing workshops with Moore University and the Human Awareness Institute and gosh, David Data and all kinds of different practices, and hired tantrikas one-on-one to do coaching with me to try to figure out what I could do to become a better lover. And then when reading Margot's book was a real eye-opener for me, and I started doing practices that were in that book with partners. And it was a revelation for me to go, oh my God, there's things like anal healing that would really benefit me, or um, I'm learning how to expand my orgasmic capability by doing this thing called streaming, which is a standing and shaking practice, and just all kinds of interesting things that Margot had created. And so when I finally took a teacher training with her, it was a pretty powerful experience. And at one point, she had me up in front of the group and was combing my energy, like how, like that's the only way I can describe it. I'm standing there kind of shaking while she's moving her hands around my body, my energetic field, and I start to have what I would say is a non-ejaculatory orgasm in
Wow.
front of a group of 60 or 70 people. And I think at that point, after I sat down, I thought, I think that I've had some breakthroughs from where I
Mm-hmm.
was back when I was about to get married to this woman. So
Mm. So take us back to the mindset that you were in when you were engaged to be married. Did you believe in these experiences as something that could happen? Were you someone that was into the Tantra woo woo kind of hippie stuff back then? I know for me, before I got into it, I was very scientific minded and I didn't believe it at
mm.
all. So I'm curious to hear from you. Were you a believer before you started it, or did it come through the experience that you started to believe in these things?
I think I was the begin. It was this, I was beginning to think that, oh, I might be into alternative things. I was in
Mm-hmm.
a yoga teacher training and kind of an early form of landmark forum.
Oh,
Kind of,
yeah.
I was the beginning to be into personal growth, but I really didn't know what tantra was
Mm,
until after my fiance left me. So
mm.
once that happened, I joined a men's group with a psychotherapist. I started doing my own therapy. It was a time of real big personal growth for me.
That's so amazing to hear that you took that experience and kind of used it as a growing point, that you didn't dwell on the negativity that she had, said about your sexuality, because I imagine it was, yeah, heartbreaking in so many ways. So, yeah.
Well, I did dwell, but
Okay. Uh-huh.
for maybe 6 months or a year, and
Right.
then I started to come out of it. But yeah, it was
Mm.
tough. It was tough at first.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, I had a lover right after that. Well, not right after that, soon after that, and she was the one who gave me Margot's book,
Ah.
and then kind of helped me have some breakthroughs, like my first non-ejaculatory orgasm. And I went, "Oh my God, what? This is even possible?" So
Mm.
that kind of blew my mind and kept me going
Mm-hmm.
on the path.
Can you take us into that moment and paint a picture, so to speak? What happened for you? Because I'm sure there's some men listening that don't believe that's possible.
Yeah, I this particular partner was the first time that anybody had introduced anything into my ass. So she had a slender vibrator that she put in my butt while she was going down on me, and I had this very powerful bodily reaction to it
Mm.
without an ejaculation. And again, just kind of jaw on the floor moment, like what happened here?
Mm.
And I spent the next several years trying to figure out how to recreate that.
Ah, okay. Like chasing the dragon, so to speak.
Yeah. And of course, if you're that eager to recreate something, it's often very elusive because,
Yes.
it's not interested in your pursuit.
Mm-hmm. So as a tantric man these days, how do you describe your erotic identity and what labels do you apply to your sexuality if you had to share that with someone?
Wow. Labels to my sexuality.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know if I have that. I mean, I would say I'm essentially heterosexual
Mm-hmm.
or maybe pansexual, I guess, in a way that I feel very open to having this force of sex, life and sex flow through my body.
Mm-hmm.
Omnisexual, I'm not sure what the word would be for that, but when I'm engaged in intimate relations with a partner, I feel a power greater than myself that wants to move.
Mm.
And it's like it's not just in me, it's not just in them. It's kind of in the field between us, but there's something greater that wants to happen. And so I think of it as my job to attune to what that is. If I'm just present in the lovemaking, I can attune to what wants to happen. I think it came from I think the part of the issue with my fiance was that she felt I was a strategizer. Do you know what
Okay.
I mean by that? Like the
No,
kind of
no. Can you tell us
like
more?
yeah, like okay, so I'm going to go from step A to step B, sub step C,
Mm.
and like I'm going to like there's a process, or it becomes habit almost of
Mm.
how lovemaking can unfold, as opposed to just being really present and seeing what wants to emerge. And
Mm.
so it's a big unlearning for me to go from this kind of strategizing, habituated mindset to just allowing what wants to happen to happen.
So you went from seeing sex like an equation to more
Mhm.
like an experience and focused on the feeling aspect of it. Is that right to say?
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. I think
Mm-hmm.
the equation part, and also I was pretty shut down in my heart. I wasn't available to really love, and so the combination of that maybe had me feel a little, probably to my partners, feel more like they were having sex with a piece of wood
Ah. Mm-hmm.
rather than a live human who is attuned to his own erotic nature and his own pleasure, and
Mm.
is able to connect in that pleasure body with them, so that now we're engaged in this mutual deep pleasuring, as opposed to some kind of strategy created by this wooden Pinocchio guy.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that presence is the key to great sex?
Yes.
Mm.
I would say probably the number one key, beyond all the techniques um, and the things that you are trying to remember to do, breathing and everything else. If you're just present with what's there, then you have the greatest chance of having a really powerful sexual experience with your partner.
Mm-hmm. And when you were describing how you experience your sexuality, it almost sounded like it's a spiritual thing for you. Is that a right word to apply to it? Is it a spiritual experience for you when you're exploring sexuality?
Yes, I mean,
Mm.
the spiritual is a really loaded word, and I
Sure.
think it means a lot to a lot of different people. Does it mean that there are times when I feel really unified with my partner, like there's a kind of unity consciousness experience I have where I'm not really separate from them? Yes. If that's spiritual,
Mm.
yes, then I have spiritual experiences.
Mm.
Are there moments where it feels like I'm transcending and going beyond my limited human self, or that I'm doing healing of my soul at the very deepest levels?
Right.
Is that a spiritual experience? Probably. So those are the kinds of things that can happen my lovemaking experience.
Mm-hmm. Sounds delicious. So you spoke about growing up with a strict religious background and a lot of sexual shame. What did that do to your relationship with your body and your sexuality? And do you think that influenced how you were approaching sexuality, and giving this sensation of being with a block of wood, as you said?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah, very strict religious upbringing, all the way through college, even. And so
Wow.
I was not really even, intimate with a woman until my early 20s. I was actually terrified, I think, of girls growing up.
Mm.
And so I was pretty clueless, both physically, intimately, how to relate, emotionally. All those things felt really stunted and kind of very young, I guess you could say.
Mm.
And so it's such a big learning and unlearning process to move through what I would say are blocks to healthy, loving sexual relating. And for me, that process had to do a lot with therapy, really good therapists,
Mm.
relationships with people who were very shame-free and could kind of be with me while I was struggling or feeling less than or feeling inhibited or just to even go into places like some light BDSM with partners and feeling like the first time I was pinned down, I started to cry because I
Oh.
realized I had been pinned down without consent by older brothers and,
Mm.
beaten up. And I was like, oh my God. And it was such a relief to feel like I had some control over the situation in that kind of
Right.
bottom role and to say, oh, I can actually say, no, can you stop now? And it was such a relief to be able to do that. And
Mm.
then conversely, also explore the dominant aspects of myself that wanted to be aggressive and never felt like it was okay. Like I'm sure I'm hurting someone here and I'm a nice guy. I don't want to do
Right.
that. And instead of feeling like, no, I'm gonna hurt you in a good way
Mm-hmm.
and feel like it's okay to do that. So, there's so many little pockets of life and in sex where shame seeps in, and and the process of weeding those little pockets out and bringing them into the light I think it's a lifelong process, depending on how
Mm.
intense the shame was for you when you were younger.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you kind of touched on it a little bit there, but you mentioned about awakening the sexual animal within. What
Hmm.
does that phrase mean to you, and how does that apply to men's sexuality?
I think a lot of men, in general, move through life as a mind being carried around by a body.
Mm.
In other words, there's some disconnect between, somewhere around their neck for sure.
Right.
Um, or, even lower sometimes, maybe the diaphragm, that they feel cut off from their bodies. And maybe they treat it like almost like a service animal or like a donkey or something like, oh, we got to move the donkey. So I'm going to make the donkey do something. I'm going to
Mm.
even going to the gym or things like that. Guys are like, oh, I'm going to keep the donkey in good shape.
Mm.
And as opposed to like, I'm feeling like I'm able to allow my animal nature, my whatever that is for you. Some guys feel like, oh, I'm a wildcat or I'm a bear or a bison, and whatever it is. Like I'm allowing that animal nature to have room in the bedroom so that I can growl or I can contact um, that primal aspect of myself that is so unsupported in our culture, in our Western culture.
Mm.
And how might I be able to recover that so I can enter sex more fully and not just this kind of robotic or head case as I was certainly for many years. I'm bringing more of this empowered beast that can come in and want what it wants, and not of course just to be a total disregard for my partner, but in service to a deepened and more exquisitely delicious experience with the partner.
Empowered beast. I love that phrase.
Or conscious, maybe like a even like a conscious animal.
Mm.
It's not just coming in like a bull in a china shop. You're
Right.
actually going in and looking around saying, yeah, we don't want to damage this china, but I am a bull.
Mm. You've now spent about 30 years studying sexuality and, in particular, male sexuality. What has surprised you most about men and men's desire along this journey?
Hmm. Gosh, surprised me. I don't think anything surprises me anymore because I've been
Mm.
coaching guys for so long.
Yep.
I've seen and heard and talked to guys through just crazy stuff.
Mm.
So I can't, let's see, but maybe if I could think about a pattern or something that I
Yeah, or your
see,
biggest
maybe
learning, perhaps.
yeah, let's see. So, um, I'm learning that men respond poorly to criticism.
Right.
And so if you are partnered with a man, uh, finding ways to speak to him about what your desires are and what you'd like to create in that relationship, if that can be done without criticizing what you're experiencing with him, that goes a long way. Um, a lot of men would like to think they can really handle what their partner has to say, but inside they're often like a very shy teenager that's collapsing whenever they're hearing an attack like that. So what they perceive as an attack, I'm
Mm.
sure the partner doesn't mean to attack them necessarily, but how can you find a way to speak to it that that's supportive rather than breaking him down?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one learning. And I think
Mm.
another learning is that men don't really realize their potential as sexual creatures. Maybe this is the biggest one because
Right.
when I'm coaching a man and we start to shift out of this pattern, like, okay, there's my arousal, there's my plateau phase, the kind of the Kinsey model here. So,
Mm-hmm.
and there's my orgasm, and then there's my refraction period, and that's how I do it. And if I can last, 7 minutes, I'm doing great, that kind of thing. It's so pleasurable for me to watch a man shift from that model of sex to, okay, now I'm lasting as long as I want because I'm kind of mastering my ejaculation through my breath and my focus, and because I've opened up these new energetic pathways in my body, and now I'm having these other non-ejaculatory experiences that my partner's kind of blowing my partner's mind. My partner's like, what just happened? Did you have an orgasm? And I'm saying, yeah, but I didn't ejaculate, so we can keep going. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. So to have guys become kind of really wizards in the bedroom and to
Mm.
feel like they're showing up at their full potential, or maybe on their way to their full potential. I think I don't think I've reached my full potential until my 60s, honestly.
Wow.
Um, and I definitely am. I'm hitting my stride right now. I'm really feel like I'm the best lover I could have ever been
Mm-hmm.
in my life. Like I'm at a 10 now.
Oh, we love to hear it.
And so, whatever, maybe that's another thing is to talk about, like, guys, just because you're getting older doesn't mean it gets worse. It
Right.
actually gets better,
Mm-hmm.
So maybe destroying myths with men about this somehow that they're on the downslope once they cross whatever age in their mind. It's like, oh, I'm 45, I'm on the downslope. I'm 55, I'm headed downhill. It's just not true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of throwing a lot at you there, but those are just some of the things that I think are surprising to me, or I feel is really satisfying for me, is to destroy myths about
Mm.
sexuality for men, and to watch the real time effect of that in the guys I work with in my coaching work.
Mm-hmm. No, we love to hear it. And it's amazing to hear that it only gets better. And, that's been a theme that has come across on the podcast again and again when I speak to people that are older than me, men, women, in between. All genders say that the older they are, if
Mhm.
they're still exploring their sexuality and still open to it, then the better it does get. So it's really nice to hear that that's true for men as well.
Yeah, I mean, of course, having the right partner is helpful. Finding a
Yes.
partner who is very free and open and exploratory and is able to be conscious and has a very large capacity for arousal and orgasm. And you have to be able to do your work on your side of the net. So if you've done your work and now you're meeting a partner who's done their work, well, the sky's the limit, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. So, one of the traditions on the podcast is exploring a quote with you. And today's quote is from someone that you've actually mentioned in our chat already. And it's David Data, who, for people that don't know, is an American author who writes about the sexual and spiritual growth of men and women. And he's most well known for his book, The Way of the Superior Man. So, one of the quotes from this book is this: "The way a man penetrates the world should be the same way he penetrates his woman, not merely for personal gain or pleasure, but to magnify love, openness, and depth." So I'm curious to hear from you, what comes up when you hear this quote? I know we've touched on a few things already, but I guess I'm wondering, have you found that men show up in the world differently when they learn things like Tantra and expanded orgasmic response? Does their work life get better? Does their family life get better? And if so, how?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
100%. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way that you do sex is the way that you do life.
Mm.
And so if you're making changes like data talks about, and it's not just the little f feminine, your partner, but it's the capital F feminine, the world, right?
Mm.
And that's the feminine that you're learning to penetrate by doing your work in the bedroom on yourself.
Right.
So if you're learning to expand your lovemaking capacity, and you're expanding your consciousness so you can have non-ejaculatory orgasms, it starts to become less interesting if you're just trying to get off, right? That doesn't happen as often, if at all, that you're just looking to kind of get off, as opposed to like, oh, I want to penetrate the world, the feminine, with my consciousness. I want to
Mm.
feel my connection to all of life through the act that I'm doing right now. And I want to be anchored and grounded on the earth. I'm going to extend my energy being to the sky and everything in between. I'm going to love fully with my heart. All these things start to come up as you journey more deeply into your sexuality. And of course, if you're going through the world like that, as a present, conscious, grounded man who also has a awareness of the transcendent, of that higher eagle's view of life and his vision for his life, then you can't help but feel like you're living a much richer life than you had been when you were just focused on trying to ejaculate
Mm.
with a partner.
Mm. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about it, because we've been discussing, men having multi-orgasms, but I don't think we've actually defined it as such. How would you define a man that's having a multi-orgasmic experience? What does that look and feel like?
So I think we described it a little bit, instead of just going up to arousal, to
Mm-hmm.
plateau, to climax, to refractory period, and feeling like, okay, well, maybe in 20 minutes or an hour or a day,
Right.
I can rally and have another ejaculatory orgasm. That's not what we're talking about as a
Mm.
multi-orgasmic man. We're talking, and it's not even about necessarily edging, which is I'm going to get close as I can to ejaculating and then back off and then come back and be close again, because that requires some level of, I don't know what you could call that, fear of going over the edge,
Mm.
along with some kind of tension that's built up in the body. So we're looking at using breath and movement and sound and kind of a shaking process that's created, and all these things in order to create new energy pathways in the body, so that instead of the energy coming out in an ejaculation, which is what it wants to do just naturally, because that's how we got 8 billion people on the planet. That's how we created it. Instead of that, we're now channeling that energy up our bodies to our heart or our throat or our crown. And so now you can have this pleasure wave go through your body, and it'll come and subside, and then it'll come back again even stronger, and then a third time and a fourth time. And if you could just keep cultivating your tolerance for pleasure, because some guys will hit a glass ceiling up there of like, oh, okay, that's all that I can just take so much pleasure. Or maybe my abs are hurting so much from how much pleasure I'm having right now, I have to stop. That's how you might end a non-ejaculatory sexual session. Oh, you can choose to ejaculate if you want it, of course, but you don't necessarily have to. So it's a mastery of the ejaculatory response and a channeling it up the body to in service of an expanded consciousness.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's a few men listening that are like, wow, I want that. So I wanted to explore this a bit deeper with you, because another tradition on the podcast is exploring a piece of research with you around the topic. And today's article is from Dunn and Trost, who documented cases of 21 men experiencing multiple orgasms without the typical refractory period. So exactly what you're speaking about. And they show that these men were able to move through repeated orgasmic phases, especially when arousal patterns and pelvic control shift away from the typical ejaculation cycle. So, of course, this is challenging the idea that, like you said, men are biologically limited to a single orgasm. So in this study, the men reported being able to orgasm both before and after ejaculation. Is that something that you've also experienced or heard of in your work with men?
Interesting. After ejaculation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's curious to me. I mean, there are guys who there are men I've worked with who haven't even been able to get an erection, but they can still have orgasmic experience.
Mm-hmm.
So we could include that as part of this study.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, men who were paraplegic or they're physically unable to have an erection. That doesn't mean they can't still have an energy style orgasm.
Oh, how amazing. And does that also include men that did have a penis that was working when they were younger, and then as they've become older, they're experiencing erectile dysfunction? Are you saying that these men can also have orgasms without the use of... Okay, wow.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember the first time that I hired a tantrika, someone to come over and coach me on circulating energy in my body. And so we lay down together, and she taught me this fire breath orgasm. So we're side by side, and she's put on some drum music, and we're breathing together. And by the time we get to her fourth chakra, she's like having an orgasm, and she's not touching herself. And I'm kind of looking sideways over. This is the first time I'd ever done this. I'm looking sideways, like, I think she's faking it. I don't think this is real. And so, 10 years later, that's not true for me. I'm actually able to have that kind of experience myself. So, I think that I mentioned that because it seems like some people think we're just making this up,
right? That
it doesn't really exist, and that maybe because it doesn't have the pleasurable feeling of something coming out of your cock, that it's not a real orgasm. But I'm telling you, I'm here to tell you, it can be even better than that. In terms of the experience that you're having. Don't limit yourself to thinking that it has to have these pelvic contractions, although pelvic contractions can be part of it. There are men who have fully engaged, perineal pulsings their pubococcygeus muscle is pulsing away and they're not ejaculating. So there's different kinds of non-ejaculatory orgasm that men can have, that people can have, let's just say, because women can have, earlobe orgasms or nipplegasms, or like there's plenty of possibilities out there for orgasm. Let's just let go of this idea that it's a certain way and that sex is limited in this particular box.
Mm-hmm. How do you define orgasm itself? Is it just a pleasurable experience? Is it a build up and release? Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about a build up of some kind to a particular point, and then like a wave of pleasure that happens as a result of that. And again, in my book, it just happens. It can happen again. It doesn't. It's not limited to one moment.
Right. I'm sure there's many people wondering this. How long does it take for a man to train himself to be able to do this on average? Are all men different, or is there a pattern that you've seen to the learning of this process? If a man was to come to you today, what would you be telling him about what to expect?
I'd ask him some questions about, well, there'd be several questions I'd ask. I'd want to find out if in general he is more of a, the Ayurvedas would say kapha personality or kapha body type. Does energy move slowly through his body, or is it kind of quick and lightning fast? Has he done any kind of yoga, breath work, bioenergetics, any kind of somatic movement practices that would start to open up his body? I know for me, I was doing these, rolling around on these big physio balls. I actually led a workshop 30 years ago, bouncing on these balls, big balls, and rolling around and kind of teaching this body opening practice where you're opening your thoracic spine. And anyway, do you feel kind of heavy, sedentary, or do you feel like your body's available, flexible, fluid? And those guys get this pretty quickly.
Right.
Especially if they've, are eager to work through it, and, wanting to work through pieces of shame they might have, or learning to relax themselves more deeply, learning to have more confidence in themselves and their body's function, and just feeling like they can do that, like they're giving themselves permission to have a whole new set of neuronal pathways open up in their body. So those guys I work with, and sometimes I'm working through them, and on, week 4 of my training program, guys are like, "Hey, I think I got it," and then other guys call me up, a year after the program is over, and they go, "Hey, it happened for me." These guys are it's a little slower for them because, of their age or the way their body processes energy. So I don't know if I could give you an average. What could I say? Maybe 3 months, something like that, 6 months, somewhere in there.
And do you find that once men learn this process and learn about having these expanded orgasms, that they don't go back? Do they normally stay with the process of exploring it?
Yeah, it's kind of, once your body knows how to do this, you could say not do it for a year, and then within a very short period of time, you could come back and do it again.
Like riding a bike.
Yeah, exactly like riding a bike. Your body somehow has figured out this new way of being. And when so you could abandon it, you could just go, watch porn and ejaculate every day for a year. I'm not recommending that.
Right.
And then come back and be like, okay, I'm going to go back and see if I can become multi-orgasmic again and just have this energy move through me. And I'd say in a very short period of time, you'd be able to get there because you've trained your body how to do that.
You mentioned porn just then. I'm curious, what are your thoughts and feelings on porn and men watching porn?
I've actually sent porn clips to guys who I was coaching on how to, say, go down on a woman, and to say, like, look, it's not, you're not a cobra on meth here. You're like not attacking your, there's a way to do this that's proper. And I'm going to send you this, lesbian porn video because I think they do a really good job of that. So I'm I'm a fan of well done porn, and I'm a fan of guys using it in a good way.
Mm.
But like anything else, you can become addicted. You can use it in an unhealthy way. You can yeah, you can go down the rabbit hole with it,
Mm.
and of course that's not so great for you. But
Mm.
I have a general. I mean, I understand some people are really against porn. They think it's a terrible thing, and that's not me. I'm not in that camp at all.
Mm. Mm-hmm. So the next part that I had here was a couple of listener questions. I think we've covered them, but I'll just ask them just in case there's something else you wanted to speak to, because I
Sure.
did tell these people that I would ask these specific questions. So the first one was, what's the biggest misconception about male pleasure and orgasm that you want to change?
Hmm. I think I'd say that I think I have addressed that, but I
Mm.
want to go back to a particular aspect of that, and that is that so many men are focused on pleasing their partner because they want to secure love. They want to make sure that she's not going to leave them.
Ah.
They're not going to leave them.
Mm.
And and so they leave themselves during sex. They disembody or they dissociate to some degree because they're putting all their attention or energy on pleasing their partner. Oh, if only I can give her that orgasm, then she'll want to stay with me. Like that's happening
Mm.
at a lower subconscious level in so much lovemaking that men are doing.
Mm.
And instead of seeing themselves as a powerhouse of pleasure and how to cultivate that, how can they make themselves like a pleasure monster and bring that to the partner? So the partner's not feeling like, okay, there's nobody really home here. He's just really interested in me. Instead, you're bringing in yourself as this kind of, feral powerhouse of sensual and sexual energy, and you're saying, I know how to give myself pleasure. I know how to experience really deep states of pleasure. I'm bringing that to this relationship because I know if you feel that from me, it's going to be like I'm plugging into a socket, and you're going to you're going to explode in pleasure too. And now we're going back and forth.
Mm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
think guys think of it as kind of a one directional, unidirectional experience. I'm just going to focus on giving her pleasure, and that's going to take care of the situation. And
Mm.
it's really only half of the equation. And it took me years to figure that out. I was very focused with my fiance at that time, like, okay, you're gonna give her 15-minute clitoral orgasm. I'm gonna do her, and I'm very, very focused on her pleasure. And yay, that's nice to be able to do that. But I wasn't present really in the relationship at all, and as a
Mm.
sexual man. So I think that's a really big misconception that I hope guys can learn to overcome, this idea that I'm just going to put attention on my partner.
Mm, that's really interesting because a lot of the messaging that I see around male sexuality is that you should focus on your partner. And
Yeah.
yeah, it sounds like there's a whole half of the equation there that is missing. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's really
I mean,
interesting.
there's
Mm.
books about it, right? She
Mm-hmm.
comes
Yeah.
first, right?
Yep.
But that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean you don't come, you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and in fact, I've had partners before, I think maybe just because I've done enough healing on myself, that are very much more into my pleasure first. So they would put attention on me because they know once my engine gets going, and now I'm alive as a kind of a my feral sexual self is awakened.
Mm.
The game is a different game for them. They're like, oh yeah, now it's really on, as
Mm.
opposed to putting all the attention on their pleasure first. I'm not
Hmm.
I'm not recommending that. I'm just saying that this is what's been showing up for me more and more
Yeah.
frequently.
Mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mm. Okay, well, the next one is more of a statement than a question. And this person says, I would love to hear him speak on identifying and activating other male erogenous zones beside the
Mm,
penis. I think so
mm,
often it is seen as the primary and only place for male stimulation
mm.
when there are so many others to explore and incorporate into sex, kink, and foreplay.
Awesome. Awesome statement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One of the first things I do with a lot of the men that I coach is have them do a self massage, self exploration session.
Mm.
So they are, and again, many men are like kind of rolling their eyes, like, "Oh, so you mean I'm just going to touch myself and it's going to try to make myself feel good?" Sounds kind of boring to me. But if they can move past that and go, "Well, let's see what happens if I drag my fingernails up my inner thighs really slowly. That's an interesting sensation." Or how much pressure could my nipples take? Does it feel really good to pinch them, steadily harder? Maybe I put some clothespins on my nipples, like. So if you just start to explore your own body and see what you might have missed, what you're missing, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
that can bring a lot of new, exciting pathways to discover with a partner. And you can start asking for pleasure in certain ways. Like some guys, it turns out, have really sensitive earlobes. And then there's, I mean, again, I get such really interesting men that I talk with. Um, Men who like I have one client I worked with before who told me he has a winegasm. Like
Oh.
he's opened a bottle of wine before, he smelled the bottle of wine and his body started to shake in an orgasm because of
Hmm.
the wine. I was like, okay, I love that level of sensitivity. I think that often we think it's just women that are gifted with this possibility of having nipple gasms, and I don't think that or other kinds of pleasure. And I think men are totally capable of that. It's been socialized out of us to some degree. And I think that it just doesn't occur to men that this could be something that they could do for themselves. So
Mm.
I heartily encourage the exploration of erogenous zones, even ones you don't think that are erogenous zones, for yourself, and to have a partner help you explore that too.
We love exploration here. So, I'm not sure if I asked you before the podcast or not, but as part of our conversation, I normally ask my guests to bring along something to share, such as a quote, book, or movie that's
Hmm.
influenced their eroticism. So, can you think of something that has helped you explore, understand your eroticism, and has shaped your erotic realm that you'd like to share with us today?
Hmm. Quote.
A book or a movie? Like some people,
No.
no, no,
Yeah, I'm just
nothing.
thinking.
Mm.
No, I'm thinking of something. I'm just thinking. There's a poem by Rilke that was
Mm.
translated by Robert Bly, and there's a part of it where he says, "You have not grown old. It is not too late to dive into your increasing depths, where life calmly gives out its own secret."
Mm.
And there's something about the that for men and aging where um, you don't think about life that way. You don't think about going more into your depths necessarily. A lot of men just think like, the best parts of my life are over. And it's just not true. So we've already mentioned that, but I
Yeah.
think there's something to, there's something about going deeper into your consciousness as you get older,
Mm.
and to know that there's this limitless possibility for
Mm.
you. And why not make that your story instead of, I'm over the hill at this
Mm.
point?
Yeah, never stop exploring.
Yes.
Now, you've mentioned a couple of your own personal experiences, but I'm really curious to hear your answer to this question. I feel like you might have another story for us. What's a peak erotic experience that has really stayed with you from your exploration of Tantra? I'm sure you
Oh
have
my.
many.
Yeah, really. I'm just thinking of some really like, do I go for the entertaining ones? Or
Whatever
do
you
I?
feel like. You can share a couple if you like.
Um, I think when I come to consider, let's just say, sex in my 60s, and to have the experiences that I'm having now with a partner, let's say, where the sex is going on for 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 hours, and um, we're really losing track of who is who at this point. Um,
Mm.
and the pleasure and the healing that starts to happen is just something that I don't think I ever even considered was possible. And it's really hard to describe the specifics of that because it doesn't really convey what's happening.
Mm.
Um, but there's something that happens when you're with a partner it's very connected, it's heartfelt, it's very mutual, very give and take. My particular dominant animal comes out because it feels like it can. It's not about, how some BDSM dominant activities are performative,
Right.
and as opposed to something for me, I just don't do performative anymore. It has to feel like it comes naturally emerging out of my core dark masculine. And
Mm.
and from that place, I act from that place. And it's always in service to my partner. Um, and because I'm attuned to the field and what's happening in the moment, it almost always lands very well, very
Mm.
well, and it's taken in and it's received, and then we go from there. So um, I really hesitate to point something out that I could say specific about those times. Only that there's by not being focused on whether someone orgasms or not, and instead focus on what wants to keep happening, uh, and where's the momentum taking us,
Mm.
and how would love express itself right now, and what does consciousness want to do. So
Mm.
those are the questions, and those are the things that I'm tuning into and trying to be present enough that I can listen to. So it's about listening. And I think that's I'll just stop there because I
Mm.
think that I can't really try to describe any details from those kinds of experiences and have it not just sound trite or simple.
Mm-hmm. Well, some of the most profound things, are simple when you try to put words to them, right? To
Yeah.
me, it almost sounds like a psychedelic meditation is what you're
Yes.
describing in a way. Mm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And the
Mm.
healing that comes when if you do if you have really good support and a psychedelic experience, that you have a good guide, or you have a nice environment for you to do that in, and there's some follow-up for that. Yes, that's a kind of integrative experience that can be powerfully healing. So it's the
Mm.
same with lovemaking
Mm.
at this level.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. So, looking back now with all of the knowledge and experience you have, what would you say to your younger self that had just been broken up with all those years ago for being a bad lover as such? What would you say to him?
When you're going through hell, keep going.
Mm.
I guess that's the
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
Maybe that's kind of simplistic, but it would be more like, um, if you could keep, if you could continue to expand, or if you could continue to heal, um, do it. Like if there's something that's coming up that's a possibility for you to explore, um, don't shy away from that. Go for it. So um, be be a warrior of consciousness. Be a warrior
Mm.
of experience, and let yourself explore.
Mm.
Whether it's having a partner who's 20 years older or 30 years younger, or whether it's someone that would not normally be a partner because they don't fit my type or my box. Break through that, or maybe it's something to do with working through pieces of shame that you think you might never be able to work through. Let's go through that. Let's move through. So, it's kind of a persistent, dedicated devotion to my growth as a sexual man, and I'd want to reassure that part. Hey, you're not broken, because I think that I really thought that I was at one point. So I'd want to let it know that it's not broken, and that we can rise from the ashes and make a really spectacular sex life for ourselves.
Powerful. And what about the future for you? What's something in your erotic future that you're looking forward to experiencing? Excuse me. I've got a frog in my throat.
Yeah. I think just as the result of the last, maybe 4 years of my sexual life, I felt like I could die happy.
That's a nice feeling.
And so I actually have that question, like, well, what is there that's left that would really be that would be satisfying to me? I don't know if I have an answer to that. So I'm appreciating the question, and I'm going to sit with that for myself.
Okay, wonderful. So where can people find out more about you and your work, Jim? If there's someone listening that wants to get in touch with you and potentially work with you, where can they find you?
My website is awakenedmasculine.com.
Wonderful.
And that's where I describe the coaching program that I have. There's an online program called Multi-Orgasmic Lover that men can buy. And those are the two main ways of working with me, are through those channels.
Great. And lastly, if you had to describe your erotic self in one word and one word only, what would that word be and why?
Ecstatic. And yeah, it's been kind of a search and discovery of ecstasy inside of my own body. So I'm just going to go with ecstatic at this moment. Ask me tomorrow, and I'll give you a different word. That's what I'm going with today.
Amazing. Well, Jim, thank you for sharing your story and your insights into the psychology of masculine desire. It's been fascinating hearing about your journey and your perspective on all of these things like sexual confidence and pleasure and the deeper potential of the male orgasmic experience. So thank you for sharing your erotic realm with us today.
You're welcome, Em. I really appreciate your questions and the research you did beforehand, and it felt like it was a really, you drew out really good material from me. So I'm grateful for that.
Oh, thank you. I'm Em, and this has been the Erotic Realm Podcast. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Erotic Realm Podcast. This is an independent podcast, and if you want to see more episodes made just like this one, you can support it at psychologyofdesire.com by becoming a paid subscriber and entering the realm with many other supporters. The mission of the Erotic Realm is to humanize kink and desire in all of its forms. And we can't do that without you. So until the next time, stay perverted.